The genetic test is telling us why. It's root cause medicine. And if you don't know the why, then all these blood tests are just, you're kind of on this treadmill, like trying to figure out, and you can never quite grasp it. But the genetics gives you your blueprint.
Welcome to the Mastry Experience. I'm your host, Francesca Sipma, and we are diving deep into mental mastery. This is where self-awareness meets peak performance. You're going to witness the truth behind personal development, emotional breakthroughs, dissolving triggers, getting into flow state, discovering purpose, and most importantly, mastering intuitive action. And we do this through a process called HypnoBreathwork. This is your community committed to breaking behavior patterns, getting into alignment, pursuing excellence, and self-mastery. Let's do the work. This is the Mastry Experience. Shout out to Huel for sponsoring and partnering with the Mastry Experience. Daniel Guzman, welcome to the Mastry Experience.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
We start every episode off with a question from our Mastery card deck. And your question today is, what part of you do you keep private because it feels too much?
Gosh, you have to go there right away.
I do. Okay. And you know, I actually did pick that card on purpose.
Okay, let's see. What part of me do I keep private?
Because it feels too much.
I guess I would say I love leaning into my ambition, but my ambition has left me super lonely sometimes. But I don't want to admit that to the people that rely on me because I don't want them to worry about me. So I rarely talk about that. Because I get this envision of like myself as a little boy. And when I think about like my mom, she's the one person that always took care of me. She still does take care of me today. Mm-hmm. But I want to prove to her that she doesn't need to take care of me, I guess. So in those moments where I'm really trying to push, like in the past few years, I've tried to get to this whole new level. Because if I'm not growing, it's really tough for me to stay still. Yeah. But I don't talk about that a lot because I'm not good at asking for help. And I just sit in the loneliness and tell myself, like, this is the moment I need to be in, which is actually not the truth. That's a narrative in my head. The truth is that I've been learning is that people also want to help you. They want to bless you in certain ways. But if they don't know what's going on, how can you help them? Yeah. So the loneliness that I feel.
Can I ask you about what your cultural background is?
Yeah. My dad's side of the family is from Mexico. Okay. Immigrants. My mom's side is from England and Greece. Both immigrants fresh off the boat. And they just try to start a new life here and grind. My mom's dad was a milkman for 40 years. Wow. Until milk became more democratized and you buy it in the grocery store. Mm-hmm. But I grew up with both sets of families that were really big into hard work, improving yourself, taking care of the family, sacrificing whatever it took.
Yeah. I think that's where the hiding the loneliness comes from, because I can relate to having immigrant parents, and I feel like because they made such a big sacrifice for us and they only want us to have a better life than they did, we don't want to burden them with our emotions. Does that resonate for you? Yeah.
It's like we know exactly what they're feeling, but we want them to know, like, we're okay. Yeah. You did it. Yeah. But it still comes up when we're like, hey, we're still just young adults trying to figure this out. Yeah. You know, we still need help. And they know because we call them or we talk to people. Yeah. But it's tough to go there with them sometimes.
It's really tough to go there because a lot of times in that process of bringing yourself to the States, I mean, the survival instincts that have to kick in order to do that, the perceived threat that you find in a new environment or maybe not feeling like you belong. There's so much that's going on in their nervous system. And I feel like I always want to protect my mom from having to feel more emotion because of me.
Yeah, you know, I totally get that. My dad is one of 8 and he was born here, but his siblings were born in Mexico. And so there was this whole like integration period about, you know, like how we got to learn English. We got to get into the right schools and do these things. And so I think he also felt that need to take care of all his brothers and sisters, his parents. And so I probably saw that a lot growing up. Yeah. And took that from him.
Well, interesting, because now you've taken on a role as head of performance at 3x4. Yep. Tell me a little bit about the company and what the role entails.
So 3x4 Genetics does genetic testing and data analysis. Essentially what's going on is we have medical genetics, which is not what we do, but medical genetics talks about disease risk What's your risk of a certain cancer? It's really specific. It's been around for a really long time. Then there's stuff like ancestry genetics, which is really cool, but the accuracy of it probably depends on the test you get. We don't do either of those. Okay. So we're right in the middle, which is lifestyle genetics, or we call nutrigenomics. So what are the things that can tell us about how you respond to certain foods or supplements or different lifestyle or environmental changes? And if we know that, then we can make better decisions about how to eat, how to train, how to make some lifestyle changes, doing breath work, how does that affect genes in the brain, all that kind of stuff. And so my job at 3x4 Genetics as head of performance is actually bring this to the sporting side.
Okay.
Because in sports, we're kind of behind. We tend to adopt things pretty late. The medical system adopts it really quickly, and then sports has to evaluate, try and see if there's a right fit. Do we have the budget for it? And with my background working in pro soccer for over a decade, they brought me in to see, can we bring that to soccer and the NFL and the NBA and NHL and all these other sports? And it's getting there, which is great.
Yeah. Are you guys looking deeply and like heavily into the data and really understanding sort of overall patterns or insights or what's optimizing for people? Is there like more kind of general patterns that you're seeing?
So the big difference with us is that we don't just look at one gene in isolation. Like a big gene in methylation is MTHFR. And they say, oh, if you have that gene, then it means you have these things, or you're predisposed to all these different issues or environmental changes. But instead of looking at one gene, we look at groups of genes. We call them pathways. So there's a bunch of genes that affect methylation. And there's a bunch of genes that affect inflammation, like the interleukin genes and TNF alpha and all these different genes that can speak to that. And so when we know that about someone, then we can go deeper into the data of the other biomarkers they're looking at. Could be blood work, could be hair analysis, could be urine tests, whatever they're looking at. We take those biomarkers, what tells us what is happening in real time. So you do a blood test in that moment, what's going on. And that stuff is really valuable. But a genetic test is telling us why. It's root cause medicine. And if you don't know the why, then all these blood tests are just, you're kind of on this treadmill, like trying to figure out, and you can never quite grasp it. But the genetics gives you your blueprint. It kind of tells you exactly how you were created, how you respond, and then maybe what tests you should be focusing on.
And then you guys provide optimizations, like recommendations of how to...
Yeah, specifically around nutrition and supplementation if it's appropriate. But there's also a lot of lifestyle stuff that we can do. There's ones that I think are kind of silly, but they work. You know, like gargling salt water or singing in the shower, it can help with the vagus nerve. If we're trying to, you know, get you out of fight or flight into rest and digest, that kind of stuff. But we do give those recommendations.
Have you started to explore recommendations around like mental and emotional health?
Yeah, totally. So we look at genes in the brain. They're called mood and behavior genes. And if we're just looking at athletes, which is my focus, one of the coolest things that you would say, oh, that makes sense, is that the athletes that have what we would call like mental resilience genes, the ones that are super high impact genetically, are usually correlated with more elite athletes. So all the athletes we test, we look at these genes, and we're starting to see that mental resilience or that stress capacity really correlates in a lot of elite athletes. The other one is that genetically, their responsiveness to power type activities we see what makes more athletes elite, no matter what sport they choose, if it's ultra running or endurance or NFL, NBA, whatever it might be. But the stress response genes are really cool. And one that I think is fascinating that we don't have enough data on yet, but something that I'm looking into is the addiction genes. Yeah. So a lot of the people that we might talk to, they have addiction to fitness or addiction to, you know, the entrepreneurs have some sort of work addiction, whatever it might be. But we put that into something that can probably be pretty safe or beneficial in our life. Yeah. But sometimes that can allow people to do really extraordinary things like swim 100 miles or run 100 miles where they don't have the athletic genes to support it, but through their environment that they're putting themselves in, and they're kind of unlocking that part of their brain, they can do extraordinary things, which is really cool.
I think it's really cool that you found yourself in this position because it's really merging a lot of your interests and your passions. Can you share with us a little bit about your history in professional sport?
Yes. So I started out with the LA Galaxy. There was a company called Athletes Performance. Now it's called Exos. And it's kind of like, it's just really cool the way that it worked out because my whole story is about being an underdog. When I played high school sports, nobody knew who I was. I had to really show myself at a tryout, and I had to, you know, make varsity the hard way. I didn't have this big resume of playing certain sports, football, soccer, track, basketball. And so when I went to college, same thing. I was a walk-on college soccer player, ended up earning a scholarship, became captain of the team, did all that. And it started to become my identity. Like, there's no barrier that I can't achieve. So when I worked for LA Galaxy, they started a second division team, and no one really wanted to work with them. And I was like raising my hand like, hey, I'll do it for free. My negotiation skills were not good back then. So I worked for free, but I gave them way more than they asked for. I really committed to serving the players as best as I could. Well, 4 months later, the head strength conditioning job with the first team opened up because that coach decided to leave. And then when the company was like, oh, who wants to apply for the job? Everyone's hand went up, especially mine. And in a nice way, they kind of laughed and was like, Daniel, you've got 3 months experience. It's not going to happen. Go focus on the second division guys. And I kind of like pouted and went home. And on Monday when I came in, they just said, you have a meeting with Bruce Arena, the general manager and head coach. I was like, what are you talking about? They're like, well, he said when no one else wanted to take care of the guys that they didn't care about, you were the one who was there, so you get the opportunity. Wow. I didn't know at the time I was already going to get the job because people had spoke highly of me. But it just showed me, like, you never know who's watching. We do all these moments in training or when we're helping people. There's all these, like, I would say unsupervised activities. And like you always say, you can do the work or you don't do the work. Yeah. And if you do the work, it can add up. So that led me on this career with the LA Galaxy. We won a championship. I go to the United States men's national team, which was a huge honor to serve our country through sport and soccer. That led to a failure at the very end. We didn't qualify for the World Cup, which is a whole different story. But from there, I went to LAFC, Los Angeles Football Club, which is soccer. But that was the new startup in LA. And we broke records there and had a great team. And that was kind of my majority of my 10-year span in pro soccer.
I think it's really interesting how, well, first I want to go back to when you said that you made it to the championships, but you didn't win. Tell me a little bit more of what happened there.
So with the U.S. men's national team, we came in, typically they're 4-year cycles to qualify for the World Cup. Bruce and the staff came in on the last year. So a coach got fired, brought in new staff. I came in with Bruce. And basically, with the way that the points were working out in the competition, we weren't able to lose one game all year. They're like, if you lose a game, you guys don't qualify. So we go through the entire year playing in different countries. We played in Honduras. The team already played in Costa Rica, had to play in Mexico, like all these huge events, which is great. In the middle of the summer, we have the Gold Cup tournament, which is kind of like a North American, Central American soccer tournament. We won that, which didn't affect the World Cup, but we basically get all the way to Trinidad and Tobago. And all we have to do is tie or win, and we're into the World Cup in Russia. And basically everything that could go wrong, that game did go wrong. Like a fluke goal that went off one of our defenders' foot goes in the air, an own goal. And then they score just a rocket of a shot from way too far out where you're like, why would they even shoot at that point? We lose the game, and it was just like this quiet locker room, media everywhere about how the national team has ruined America's resume and all these kind of things. And that was tough. And I felt like I played a big role in that because maybe I didn't prepare the players as best as they could, or they didn't recover well from the game before. And that was just not a fun night.
Yeah. How did you handle that emotionally? Because before we started filming, you sort of shared with me that you called your dad after that.
Yeah, so it's funny. You ask me off camera and I talk about it pretty easy. And then I'm like, oh, man.
That's okay.
Like I can really visualize it right now. I just remember there's a few players that when we were in that locker room after, you can hear stuff outside. And the players are all crying or they're silent. And we're in there for like, I don't even have track of time. Seems like 2 hours. And one of the young upcoming players just crying on my shoulder. We're in the shower. It's not on. We're just sitting somewhere. And you kind of go into autopilot because my job is to serve and to take care. Yeah. So it's not to think about myself. And then we get on the bus like 2 or 3 hours later. I get to the hotel room. And as soon as I open the door, I just start bawling. And I'm not a crier. I don't just cry out of nowhere. And I text my wife. I'm like, I'm okay. I'm just, I don't know what I'm feeling right now, but it's like this total mix of a bunch of things I can't really process right now. And then I try and call my dad because before any soccer game, whether I'm a coach or I'm a player or I'm playing like on the weekend, I always call my dad. I'm like, hey, I'm excited about the game.
Yeah.
Like kind of like a coaching tips. And I try and talk to him and I like can't get a word out. And he's just on the other line. Like my dad's so stoic and he's like, basically like, it's not on you. He already knows what I'm feeling. Yeah. So I have to hang up. I'm like, hey, I'll call you right back. Just like try to lie. He knows what's going on, but I'm like, oh, I can't talk right now. And then I cry in my shower for like an hour, which is a horrible use of water. But I'm like crying so uncontrollably that my body's shaking and I'm also confused. I'm like, what's going on? I can't stop crying. I probably had a panic attack, but I'm just like, I don't get what's going on. And then I'm like, screw it. I'm gonna call my dad. And I'm just like, I'm so sorry. And he's like, why are you apologizing to me?
Yeah.
And I just told him, I feel like I let you down. Like this was the chance for you to say that your son was going to go to a World Cup. And it's such a rare thing to do. And I truly, in that moment, I thought I let my dad down. Like he was counting on this. I had this narrative in my head. And I knew that he was proud of me, but I was like, oh, he's going to be so proud of his son to achieve this thing. And my dad was like, I don't care about that stuff. Like, I'm already proud of you. You know, like it's totally okay. It's like, you're not even playing. It's part of the game. This is your job. And in the moment I couldn't really hear him, but he did calm me down. And yeah, it was just like super uncomfortable. And it also exposed that I don't let myself go there very often. This was in 2017. And it was a little bit of a wake up call. Like number one, that wasn't fun. Uncontrollable shaking, uncontrollable crying. Maybe I should like talk through some stuff every once in a while. Yeah. So that was a difficult moment.
I think a lot of men can relate to that. I think a lot of people can relate to that, wanting to hold it in, not show, I guess, what you would perceive to be weakness, but it's just heavy. Like it's not a fun feeling. It feels like pain. But the reality is if we don't find an outlet for that, a healthy outlet for that to release it, it just starts to accumulate and stack in your body and it comes out in other ways. It comes out in frustration and impatience and defensiveness. And so we have to find healthy ways to release. And I think it's really brave that even in a relationship where maybe you didn't have that emotional openness with your dad, you let yourself go there and he was able to talk you through and you were able to release it through tears. Now, I hear a common theme because you've done a few HypnoBreathwork sessions with me and I remember where it started and then I know where it's gone. And I feel like in the very beginning or in the first session, it was a lot more contained. Do you remember your first breathwork? I start every morning with breath work and meditation. I'm immediately in a creative flow state and I get on my computer and I start banging out work. The next thing I know, it's already lunch and I haven't even eaten breakfast. Shout out to Huel for making sure that I'm still hitting my protein goals because they have these delicious ready to drink meals packed with 35 grams of protein, 7 grams of fiber. We have 27 different vitamins and minerals. My favorite part, you guys, no artificial sweeteners, and it comes in so many delicious flavors, including this chocolate, peanut butter, and my personal favorite, the iced coffee. And if you're looking for something where you can add your own fruits and veggies to it, then check out the Huel protein. All the same nutrients, but you can make it a little bit creamier, a little bit thicker. Shout out to Huel for sponsoring the Mastry Experience. And you can use our exclusive 15% off code. That's Huel.com/mastery. And Huel is actually now in Targets near you. So check them out. Shout out to Huel for supporting the Mastry Experience. I want to tell you guys about something that has completely shifted the way I think about optimizing my health, and that is 3x4 genetics. You know how on this show we talk about mastering your mindset, mastering your performance, mastering your emotions? Well, what if you could master your physiology on the deepest level? They will analyze your unique blueprint. I'm talking about weight balance, muscle and skeletal, hormone health, brain, heart and vascular, blood sugar regulation, sensitivities, nutrients, cellular. It's a simple cheek swab that you can do at home and results come back on their app in 3 to 4 weeks with actionable insights across nutrition, stress management, hitting your weight goals. If you are serious about performing at your highest level, this is the kind of intel that actually changes the game. Check out 3x4 Genetics and use code MASTERY. Now let's get back to the show.
Yeah, it was in Austin, and I had shown up like I'm going to commit to everything I do. And it's almost like I go back to the immature side of me where I was like, this is kind of weird.
Yeah.
I'm not going to let myself go there. I'm kind of looking around like, is everyone else going to commit to this?
Yeah.
And the breathing first thing was, it's interesting. Like the breathing wasn't easy. I don't know if people think breath work, it's always like calm and stuff. But when you do it with you, it's like an intensity where you're like pushing us to get to a place. And I like that part, but you start having these ideas. And you before, it's funny, you said you might start shaking, you might start feeling some like different vibrations and stuff. And I was like, what is about to happen? And sure enough, like 8 minutes in, I'm like, there's no way my fingers are tingling. And you're again, like, you know it. You're like, hey, shake it out.
Yeah.
And we have a blindfold on, so I can't like look around and see what's going on. And so I tried to protect myself and was like, emotionally, I'm not going to go anywhere with this, but I'm going to try and commit to the breathing. And after you just kind of called me out, you were like, did you fully commit? And I was like, no. How'd you know? You're like, I can just tell. And you were graceful with me. You're like, hey, next time you should try this, go do this. And I was like, yeah, I'll do it. And then, I didn't do it. Then we go to New York and you're there again. And at that point I was like, you know what? I was really impressed by how people really opened up. Like they had healing going on. I could have had that.
Yeah.
Like, why didn't I try and go there? So in New York, I was like, I'm going for it. Like, I'm just going to commit and see what happens here. And again, it was not comfortable at all. But at that point, I had done a little bit of work where I'm like, you know what? I need to go into those moments of uncomfortability. Yeah. I do it at work. I like do it in fitness all the time. Why won't I do it with emotions or what I'm thinking through? And then that one, like, it could barely talk. Because again, I was crying and you were like, what came up? And it's funny, you can't control what comes up.
I know.
Right? And I told you my second child, Theo, came up. Like, maybe I'm not giving him the attention he deserves. And it crushed me. I was like, maybe I'm too hard on him. Why am I doing that? Like I want my own dad to be proud of me. And my middle son, he just wants my love. And maybe I don't tell him I'm proud of him enough. And it totally just crushed me. And then, in Minneapolis, to fast forward, we did it again. And I was like, you know what? If I cry, I cry. If I have something to work on, great. And in Minneapolis, it was like nothing but joy for me. I was just like so happy, like seeing my kids, like listening to what God's telling me. And I was like, this is awesome. And it's not always going to be joyful. Sometimes it has to be stuff to work through.
Yeah.
But when you go into it like with real intention and commit and be like, this could be scary, but let's just go for it.
Yeah. I'm so proud of your evolution with the breath work, for real. I remember, was the Austin one, was that the one that was outdoors? Okay. Yeah. Do you remember the guy that like admitted his infidelity?
I do.
Afterwards?
Yeah, the first guy to go.
Yeah, that was crazy. And I think the interesting thing about that is that it allows people who are skeptical or closed to see what's possible. And then it gives you the curiosity to maybe go again. And I think that's what happened with you. In New York, I remember the emotion. And I think you can go an entire lifetime of not recognizing that you're not giving your kids what they need. You can think that you're putting a roof over their head, you're providing for them, they have everything that you never had, and then realize they just wanted more time with me. They just wanted me to be present. Yeah. They wanted me to acknowledge their interests, and you did that, like you did that early. So I think that that's beautiful for your relationship with Theo. And then Minneapolis was, I don't know what was in the room.
That one was crazy, but in a good way. And what's funny is, I won't say who it was, but there was a guy there that didn't commit. And after same thing, he was like, oh, that was kind of weird, huh? Like maybe we shouldn't listen to that kind of stuff. And it's like I saw myself and I was like, you know what, man, maybe you're not ready for it now, but you should just think through like incorporating some of this. Yeah. Because I was where you were. Yeah. And it can be scary, and maybe you start like questioning things like, what is this from? What's going on here? But it was funny seeing like the evolution. You see it all the time. There's like people like me at first, and then there's people that totally go for it. And I don't think there's oversharing, but I don't know if you're ever surprised, like people shared some stuff where I was like, whoa, domestic abuse, addictions, infidelity, all this kind of stuff.
There was a lot of alcoholism that was coming out in Minneapolis.
There was a lot. I don't know why. I don't know. I mean, you see it more often. Like, is that just something that people they go to? But I don't know. There was a ton of it.
Well, honestly, this might be controversial, or maybe people just don't recognize this connection yet, but I feel like there's a very strong correlation between high performance and trauma, because a lot of people who push themselves and push their bodies and push their minds to achieve extraordinary things or to accomplish things, they need the adrenaline. Maybe they're channeling into something that they deem to be more positive, but it usually comes from a place of not feeling recognized, loved, safe when you were young. And so it kind of becomes a distraction to be addicted to a sport or gambling or sex or alcohol or career, whatever that looks like. So I think that that's why at HPLT, High Performance Lifetime, we see a lot of people have big emotional releases because they're holding a lot. They're ambitious, they're high performers, which means that they don't allow themselves to feel. They don't process feelings. They don't think that that's associated with being a peak performer. But the reality is that's all energy that's just being blocked. And if you can figure out a way to really, truly release it and transmute it, then that can be fuel for flow state. That can be more creative energy.
Interesting. I'm trying to think, do you think that, I mean, if you think of like the highest performers that you work with, the ones who you would say like, that's someone that I'd want to collaborate with, or just like great leaders. Sometimes they can be great leaders without doing any of this stuff, right? But I'm trying to like learn for myself, what do you see as the breakthrough with them where like, oh, I hit a whole new level? Because for me, it was basically thinking through, I had this narrative in my head of what I thought my staff or my team or my employees at Hype, whatever it might be, like I've got to be all these things for them. And then I realized they just want me to be a human. I still got to be a good leader, but they want to see the real Daniel. They don't just want to see like Mr. Stoic who always has, like, he's always able to do everything. But just so I can learn, like, what do you see from the highest performers you actually work with?
Okay, so there's different levels to this. You know, when I think of like the greats, or I think of people who have achieved extraordinary things, like you watch documentaries on Sylvester Stallone or on Arnold Schwarzenegger has dominated 3 different fields: fitness, entertainment, and then politics. That's insane to reach the top of those 3 things. I think about Steve Jobs, even the Jake Paul. They all had dads who abandoned them. They all had dads who weren't proud of them. And so they pushed themselves to be the very best for any kind of attention, for any kind of validation, for any kind of love. Now, I think that you can reach a level of peak performance through brute force, through effort, and through work ethic. But I think that when you heal, you can reach a level of achievement through flow that is a lot more peaceful and a lot more in alignment, where you don't feel like you're pushing against the current. So now the people that I work with that I feel like are really achieving extraordinary success that's not one-dimensional, which means it's not just in career. They're actually present with their family. Their health is positive. They have loving relationships. They have time freedom. They have financial freedom. Those are people that healed their limiting beliefs on what achievement and ambition look like.
Yeah.
And to be fair, you know, I'm moving through this like everybody else is and recognizing things. And I'm definitely in a season right now where I'm questioning a lot of my achievement and my overambition. And I'm seeing that I project a lot of expectations onto people from having to be so resourceful, having to be so self-sufficient, having to be independent. And it's very different. Well, first let's talk about Hype, because I want to talk about the difference between achievement as a coach and achievement as a CEO, because it's different what people need from you, I think. So tell me about Hype.
Okay. Yeah. Founder life is totally different.
Yeah.
If you've never founded anything, then you don't really know what you're getting into yet. It's all excitement and vision and dream. You're like, look at all the things I can do, the people that I can impact, whatever it might be. And then you have, you know, the moments where it's 2 a.m. and you're like fixing a door handle, or you're like trying to figure out something on the computer. Yeah. And there's the moments you're like, wait a minute, this wasn't on social media. I didn't see any of this stuff.
Yes.
Where's like the nice car and all these kind of things.
Yeah.
Okay. So Hype. Hype is incredible. Hype is a wellness studio in San Juan Capistrano. We specialize in hyperbaric oxygen, but we use other wellness services like red light, sauna, cold plunge, but it's all about how can we help cellular health to hopefully help someone get out of illness, injury, or disease and get into performance. It started because, well, my background in pro sports is one thing, but it wasn't really on the wellness side. It was all high performance, no health stuff. When I joined 3x4 Genetics and I started to learn more about how our genes respond to everything we do, everything we eat, everything we think, We can actually change our genes in the sense of like our blueprint doesn't change of who we are, but our genes are like dimmer switches. So we can switch them on or switch them off. So I'm learning about this. And at the time, my wife had a double replacement jaw surgery from a rare jaw disease that we found out about right after we got married. And so we've been planning this for 5 years. She gets the surgery to help her breathing better and help when she eats food and all this kind of stuff. Life-changing surgery, but she almost dies, which was startling. I had 2 kids at the time. Dies in around the surgery and recovery part. It's the moment where like all the nurses run in and they're like, it's okay. I'm like, there's a bunch of things like going off, doesn't seem okay, heart rate spiking. She's like not really there. Something's not okay. And in that moment, you like realize you actually have no control at all. All I could do was pray. So that moment happened. I'm like questioning, are all my priorities set? Am I good to go? We get out of that. And my wife's pain doesn't really go away. She's breathing better and she can eat food regularly now, but her pain doesn't go away. So from the outside, she's beautiful. She's got a great jaw, which is not why she did it. She can breathe better, so she's sleeping better, but she got this chronic pain. If you know anything about chronic pain, when you're in pain every single day, it just can lead to, depression, all types of thoughts. And she got as low as you possibly could get. We had our 3rd child and she was just like spent. There was nothing left to give. And so she had to do a lot of work with a lot of different professionals to get away from that place of like, I just don't want to live today. Like, I don't want to wake up and be in pain. I just want to like get to tomorrow. And that's not a way to live. Mm-hmm. And so I just stumbled upon hyperbaric oxygen because we had used it in pro sports a little bit. I started reading about how it could heal the brain. And then I read that it switches on over 8,101 genes in one session. And I was like, whoa, that is a huge gene intervention. Mm. And I basically told her like, I'm going to buy 1 chamber for you. We're going to find a way. Go to bed that night. It's one of the few times where God was like very clear in my life, where I just had this dream and he was like, you're not going to do this just for your wife. You're going to do this for a community of people. And I woke up like 4:30 in the morning, woke up. I was like, okay, was that God? Like, I need to pray about this, what's going on. And my first thought was out of fear, which is not like me, which is basically like, I don't have the money to do this. I've got a full-time job. I want to make sure I respect that. And basically my dad again comes to the picture and he was like, I believe in you, write the business plan. Let's rock. It's going to be the hardest thing you ever did. But like, truly, I know you can do this, but it will be very hard. And he's been a business owner before, so he knows what I was going to get into. Mm-hmm. But as you've kind of noticed, like my mom and my dad are like the people behind my back, where I'm like, if they're behind me, I can do this, I can do anything. So when my dad said, you got this, like from that moment on, I was like, no matter how hard this is, I can't fail. Mm-hmm. Like he's got my back. And my wife ended up using it in the wellness studio and it was great for her. Helped with a lot of healing. And the first year was really tough. Yeah. We did not make a lot of money. Mm-hmm. Was failing, was like, okay, this isn't going to go very well. And then I think I watched like a bunch of Alex Hormozy YouTube videos and read a bunch of books in one weekend, switched some stuff around. And since then we've won Best Wellness Studio 2 years in a row and got a bunch of awards. But the great part is we're having impact in the community. Yeah. So that's the hype journey. 2 years in the last like in a 3-minute span to tell you about it.
Oh, it's a beautiful story. And you demonstrate a lot of lessons actually in that, in mindset and in resilience and not giving up and having a support system and figuring out strategy, because, the journey of peak performance isn't just, healing or doing breath work. It's also, you need to fill yourself with the knowledge and the information and the tactics and the strategies in order to make a successful business. But what I find is if you do that and you're still hitting a ceiling and you're not getting the results and you're not getting the outcome that you desire, something is not aligned. Something is misaligned inside you or disconnected. Maybe you're going away from service. Maybe you're in your ego too much. Maybe you've just lost sight of the vision. And that's what requires you to heal frustration or heal impatience or heal fear or scarcity or lack of abundance, whatever those things are, so that you can be clear again and get the answers to keep moving forward. How's your wife doing now?
She's doing better than a couple of years ago. But still ups and downs, still has hard moments. And so we're still figuring that out. It's like baby steps. And when you're in chronic pain, you want like huge revelation and healing and that kind of stuff. Yeah. But sometimes it takes some time. So she is doing better. It's just, it's still something that we're trying to figure out, which is frustrating for me. I'm supposed to be this world-class performance coach, which talk about imposter syndrome. I could train any athlete, make them fast, strong, lose fat. Like I've proven it at the pro level. But then I have my wife and I'm like, why can't I fix you? You know?
She's still experiencing chronic pain in her jaw?
Yeah, it comes and goes, moments of stress. We got 3 kids, you know, there's a lot going on. She operates the business a lot. So.
Has she gone on an emotional healing journey before?
She did a little bit during that time period where she's trying to figure it out.
You know, there's a book by Louise Hay called You Can Heal Your Life. And it's a life-changing read because she is of the belief that any physical discomfort that we feel is tied back to an emotional source. And she has this index of every single pain that people can experience or complain about. And then she correlates it back to whatever could have gone on emotionally, especially in your childhood. So for example, you know, people who experience lower back pain, she says that can be tied to financial instability. She says that people who experience like joint pain in their knees, it can be tied to ego. If you have it in your jaw, it is jaw that I remember. That's insane. It could be tied to resentment and anger that's not been processed or expressed.
Interesting.
Maybe there's a breathwork session.
I think I need to read this book.
Yeah, I think you do too. And maybe I need to do a breathwork on her.
Can you just said something that I actually just need to, that's just sitting me right now. Lack of abundance. What are examples where you're like, because you said something about like lack of abundance with childhood maybe.
Yeah.
What is that?
So if you always experienced your family not having resources or saying things like, well, money doesn't grow on trees, or we can't afford that right now, or, you know, they came home with less groceries than feeds the entire family. If you always grew up in scarcity, then even as you grow up and you have resources and you have money in the bank, your mindset and your mentality is still of that it can go away at any second. You never feel that security and that almost like generosity and that overflow of money because your conditioning is that of it being restrained.
Interesting.
Oh, it's fascinating.
That's me. That's why it stuck. My family, they had fraud committed against them twice when I was a kid, where bank account empty. I just remember my mom saying like, can't get new shoes, or we only had like 2 pairs of shoes a year. And my dad didn't grow up wealthy. I mean, both my parents grew up, you know, their parents were immigrants, and so they were always kind of grinding. But I know that when I was a kid, I just remember there's 2 moments. Once when I was 8, which it's weird to think that young. And then once when I was 18, I guess 10 years later, where it was like everything was gone. And so we had to come together as a family. I'm the oldest of 4 kids. Got to help out my parents, whatever that might look like. And that actually happened in my young adult life when I was 23. So yeah, that instability, like when things are going well, I always think, well, how long is this going to last for?
Yep.
And I always like have these internal thoughts where, you know, I'm just a faithful person. I'm always praying like, okay, what little demons are just sitting on my shoulders telling me lies and just distracting me all the time rather than thinking through the truth of what's going on. That doesn't mean I'm going to be super wealthy and rich, but I don't have to sit in this instability. So it's interesting you said that, because I've been thinking a lot about that the past month.
I do a tremendous amount of work on my mindset and my subconscious around scarcity and financial abundance. When I tell you, I probably do at least 1 breathwork session a week or every other week around money, because it's layered. So some of the things that I've discovered about myself when it comes to finances, you know, I had a very successful career in New York before I left everything to do breath work. And I was teaching at a wellness studio and my classes were sold out and everyone was telling me I'm changing their life, and I was completely broke. I was in $20,000 of debt when I had made six figures my whole, like since I was 18, as a cocktail waitress even. So it was very weird for me to be like 30 something and not have money and thinking I'm living my purpose and be broke. And I did breath work on it, and 3 subconscious beliefs came up. One was that my mother protected me from financial responsibility because she always made sure I was provided for. So I was really irresponsible when it came to money. My father I resented money because it made my father absent. So my biological father, when he had money, he was very present in my life. When he didn't, he would not feel like a man and just not be around. And then my stepdad, who I consider my dad, he was frugal with money. And so I would overcompensate, and I'd be like, I would buy everything, pay for everything, and overspend because I'll never be cheap. I'll never be in an environment around frugality again. Wow. So when I discovered those 3 things, it unlocked everything for me. I'm not even kidding you. I want to say like a week later, I started booking 10K clients that led to 100K month. And I mean, it was a big unlock. And then the next year I had the subconscious belief that money goes as fast as it comes. And so I was making money, but then I was spending money. I was investing in myself. I was hiring coaches, going on trips, spending money on clothes. I was doing all these things. And I was like, oh my God, this is another level I have to unlock in money. And now it's the same thing. I feel like when you come from immigrant backgrounds and when you come from a scarcity household, you can have millions of dollars and still feel like it can be taken from you at any moment. And then you're never enjoying it. You're never present with it. That's why I created the app so that we can all do breathwork every morning and reprogram and really orient our mind towards a new future. Otherwise, the conditioning takes hold and then you don't even enjoy what you're creating in life.
There's so many things that have just happened the past week, and everything you just said, it's just funny the way that everything works. I always think through if someone's like, hey, how do I get faster? I'm like, well, it's not just one session, right? This is like, this is a routine, stuff they're doing, stuff like you just said.
Yeah.
And I think, gosh, I saw some stat, like we operate majority of our lives on autopilot. We just like the way we drive to work, when we eat, when we're brushing our teeth, which some of it's good, right? Because your brain can't just be on like it all the time. But to actually renew your mind and to transform your mind, you do have to kind of get out of those automatic routines in a way and say, okay, like how are we going to reset this and find something else to take the next level up? And there's so many things in my mind right now. It's like, I was just reading, I read my Bible every day. Romans 12:2 talks about renewing of your mind. You know, like don't just get stuck in the way that the world has doing things, right? And the like what's culturally acceptable right now, what's trendy, what's going on here. It's like you got to step out of that and you got to think like, what is my purpose, which I know you talk a lot about, and am I being intentional towards that, or am I just doing what everyone else does in that same mindset? Existing. That's what it is. Yeah.
I'll give you like a super practical, autopilot decisions that you make every day. And my partner does this particular one annoys the hell out of me, but he'll, I'm like turning on the air conditioning and he'll turn it off. And I'm like, I'm warm. And he's like, it's fine. We don't need it. Like, just open the window. And I'm like, this isn't your mom's house anymore. Like, I can afford the air conditioning. Like, we don't need to do that. And it's mindless. He was just used to his parents always kind of being tight. Yeah. So therefore, it's not even something that he thinks about. And then when I say it, I'm like, babe, I want to be comfortable. And he's like, oh, I'm like, it's fine. Yeah, you're right. But those are sort of the things we do. Or I remember being like, oh, I don't like mushrooms. Like, I never eat mushrooms. It's like something I said when I was 8 years old. I didn't like the texture when I was 8. And then as an adult, I'm like, I would act like that in a restaurant. They're like, no, this dish, is like amazing. You have to try it. And I tried it. I'm like, what is this old story I was telling myself? And I was limiting myself from new experiences. And people do the same thing with, and I think it's such a huge issue that we have now in our country with political beliefs, with racism, with cultural differences. Like, you are stuck in a paradigm that you haven't even give conscious thought to, that you're not critically thinking about. Yeah. You're just behaving in a way that is an old pattern. That's why breathwork every morning, it disrupts the pattern. It disrupts.
That's the word I was thinking of, disrupting.
Yeah. Disrupts the ego, disrupts like the protective mechanism and why you had to, feel this way or think this way. And it just expands your mind. It opens you up. It allows positive suggestion and allows you to get unstuck. So with that being said, I'm going to be taking you through a HypnoBreathwork journey today.
All right. See what comes up.
Private session. Anything specific that you want to work on?
Specific? I don't know. I'm just really big right now into renewing my mind, opening up different perspectives. But the lack of abundance thing is interesting.
Yeah. Let's explore money.
Yeah. Money's a big one. I have back problems too. So 3 weeks ago, totally blew up my back. Chiropractor's like, your back's fine. You're stressed. Your brain is in fight or flight. That was a wake-up call. So
let's breathe. Let's do it. Daniel, how was your HypnoBreathwork experience?
It's funny. So I've done it 3 times now. This is number 4 actually. And I told you the first time, didn't commit. Just kind of like protected myself. Second time went for it. Third time went for it. But a private session, there's no hiding. So not that I was going to hide, but I was like, whoa, okay. The focus is on me. And at first, because I want to serve other people, I don't really want the focus on me. And I just kind of got this idea, like, it's okay for someone to want to do something nice for you, to like accept a gift, which is what I think you give. So that was my initial thought. And then, just thinking through, I think of these things like strongholds, like what is holding on to me so tight that I know if I can work through it or just like process it, I can get to the next place, but I just don't want to. So there was some of that in there. That was intense. It's no secret. I just love my wife so much. And I know that there's no doubt on her side that I will do whatever it takes to help her, protect her, take care of her, take care of the kids. Like there's no amount of stuff that I would do. When we made vows under God, it was like in sickness and in health, for rich or for poor. Like those things really mean something to me. And we got married when we had nothing. I had $75 to my account, and her dad still let me marry her at 23. I was like, okay, let's do this. So there's just a lot I was thinking through there.
Yeah, I usually let you guys just breathe for the first song, and then I don't bring in cues until the second song. But for whatever reason, it felt just so right there. There was so much emotion around her. And so I think within like a minute of you breathing, I said, "See Lauren." And I think within 5 seconds of that, you already had emotion coming up. Was it just seeing what she's going through, or just feeling the emotion in your heart? Where was the emotion coming from?
Yeah, I guess I think she's just so hard on herself all the time. And I always tell her she's amazing and she knows the kids love her. But sometimes I just think that maybe she forgets how incredible she is. And so right away I was just like wanting to like give her that love and hug her and like validate her, like we're not going anywhere and we got your back. So when you said that's like the first thing I thought, it's just like, it's almost indescribable how much love I have for my wife that hopefully she knows, but I try and show it a lot through sacrifice, whatever that might mean. I typically go to bed late because I'm working on stuff, trying to build a business, do whatever it is. I wake up early, to do the dishes, make breakfast, make lunch for the kids, like just do stuff to make stuff easier. And she helps a lot of stuff too, but it's always like I have this desire just to like serve her all the time.
Hearts melting around the world right now. What's her love language?
She's got a few, but a big one is like receiving gifts.
Oh, okay.
But it's not, she's so low maintenance. It's not like, it could be anything. It could be a letter, like a gift of that, or a gift of time, or a gift of attention.
Yeah.
So it's big for her.
I think that's something to keep in mind, like to be mindful of, because I feel like for a lot of men, their love language is acts of service and doing things. And for a lot of women, it's quality time, or it's words of affirmation, or it's physical touch. And so you feel like you're doing everything you can to show that love, and just making sure that you're doing it in a way that it's most received, you know?
Yeah, that's a good point.
I can imagine that her listening to this, it'll be nice validation for her. This is why we love when men do HypnoBreathwork, because they're open-hearted, they're expressive, it's beautiful. I know. All right. Song 2, I went into your dad's financial situations and things that had happened in his business. What was coming up for you there?
It was like a mix of anger, but it quickly went from anger to like something really good's coming. Like I've been primed for this my whole life. When I worked for my dad over the summers when he had his business, or the like family joke in our house is that my dad made us, all four of us, dig holes all the time. And sometimes we're like, why are we digging holes? You know, like we got a nice backyard, like the landscaping is good. And he was like, it's just important to like do physical labor and to like do hard things and to focus on it. So I just thought through like the ups and downs of business and how hard things can be, and that you don't give up and keep on persevering. And all the dreams and visions of stuff that I want to do for my parents, it's almost like it's right there. And it was almost like I was getting this idea of like, I think a problem, which is something separate, is that a lot of people want everything when they want it and at the right moment. Like you want to run the race, and you want to make all the money, and you want to have the perfect relationship and all these kind of things. But that's just like, that's not how life works. You know, sometimes it's like pieces of things.
Yeah.
But in that moment, I was like, okay, it's not even about the money. It's more about like the impact, like to do something that can really help a community around a business like 3x4 Genetics and Hype, the stuff that we're doing. And I will benefit from that in certain ways.
Yeah.
But it was like, almost like my dad was like, hey, you're good. It's coming. Like so much belief.
Oh my gosh, that brings just such peace of mind, you know, when you can tap into that. And so the end of the session, I was really having you just use your imagination and visualize the feeling of financial freedom and feeling that gratitude. Were you able to kind of feel that?
That was, I mean, I know I got emotional with my wife.
Yeah.
But that was probably the toughest part.
Oh.
And that's when my forearm started to like like tingle, which is so weird. It was like I had all this pressure here that was just tingling, and I was like, what? And I'm not fully sure. I don't know. Like when you said, are you familiar with Mammoth Lakes?
No.
So Mammoth is like a big mountain with lakes and skiing up in Northern California, in the Central California area. But there's a little town called June Lake that me and my family would go to twice a year, every year, until I was 18. And then I didn't go for like 10 years, and then went back a couple times, and then took my family for the first time, my kids, last year. And when you said like to concentrate on that kind of stuff, the first thing is there's this hike in the June Mountain area, and it's pretty decent. It's like a 5-mile hike up this mountain, but at the top of the mountain's a lake, a pretty big lake. And it's so quiet and so tranquil. And I saw my kids like just running up and down while we're fishing. My parents are there, and Lauren's there. And I was like, this is financial freedom for me, is that I can go to that place whenever I want, anytime.
Okay.
So
that's what I would recommend that you tap into whenever the patterns of scarcity or financial stress come in business and life, as they do. Tap tap into that place, get your energy back into that place, then you can think more clearly, you can think from a higher vision, and you can make decisions and act and move from there.
Cool.
Yeah. Any next action steps towards the end?
I feel like I could run 100 miles right now, so I don't know. I don't know. It started out with some crying, and now I'm like, all right, I'm amped up.
And that is the journey. You know, that is growth. It's not comfortable. You have to feel through some tough things. You might have to release some heavy emotion. But when you do that, on the other side is more light, is more clarity. So thank you, Daniel, for joining us on the Mastry Experience. If people want to learn more about you, where can they find you?
Instagram is pretty much where I hang out.
What's your handle?
Daniel P. Guzman.
And we will link that in the show notes. And for anybody at home who wants to experience a similar session, I would recommend the Abundance HypnoBreathwork Session on Mastry app. Thank you for being on the Mastry Experience today.
Thank you.
Shout out to Huel for sponsoring and partnering with the Mastry Experience.